Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
Whoa.
Uh-oh.
I like to have a little bit of a pause there.
Okay.
All
Leave the pause.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm leaving a pause. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Milsurp World Podcast. I'm your host today, Danny. We are joined by Aaron and a special guest, May from C&Rsenal. Say hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I'm sorry I somehow missed any messages that I think you sent me a message through Facebook. I think I found it. Facebook likes to bury my messages in weird ways now, so that's fun to find out.
Yeah, like a unsolicited message like that. I think it buries it like two layers deep.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't go on Facebook that often. I keep it because we have, I think, maybe 2 contacts that go through Facebook only, and they have a home phone. And I don't understand how they manage to get things done in their life, but somehow they do.
A home phone? What is that?
I know, a landline. It's like Tau Fledermaus over there.
Well, I guess we will start out with the first question. This is the question we ask everybody, which is, how did you get into military surplus, May?
So, just for context, I've already known how to shoot since I was little. I think I recall maybe being 5 and my father handing me a shotgun and basically telling me to shoot at a stump just as my test shot. And I did okay. And then, he took me hunting and stuff like that. So I was familiar with guns. So it wasn't something that I just kind of picked up just out of the blue. But I fell apart. I kind of fell off them in college. Didn't really pick them up again until I met Othais. And he had just happened to come across a Mosin Nagant of a buddy of his, and he loved it. And then you wanted to learn about history, and how some people that kind of makes them spiral down the rabbit hole of, okay, what's all the information on this thing? He's one of those guys that he really likes to collect all the details on, in case you couldn't tell. And he and I met in college and became pretty fast friends. And he'd just ramble on, for hours at me about, I learned this, that, and the other, and this one's about this, and this is about that. Like, he would just basically tell me all these different stories or things he'd come across, and the weird bits of misinformation that he might have figured out from cross-referencing other books and things like that. And then it was actually when we were introduced to the Great War. So he had Othais had already been releasing some articles online, and we'd already been taking some really nice photography in our Lightbox. So we were known, like, on Reddit and online in general for our photography and just the bits of information we were putting out there. The Great War reached out and they were like, hey, we're thinking of bringing some of the guns into our history channel that we're already doing. And for anyone who's not familiar with the Great War on YouTube, definitely check them out. They do a World War I series where they released what happened in World War I for that week, once a week. They did that. And they're moving into World War II now and things like that. So they're getting pretty interesting. But they were like, we're wanting to bring the guns into it. We've heard about you guys. Would you be interested in partnering with us to essentially give us the background on these guns and even demonstrate them, tell us about them? And we're like, oh yeah, that sounds great. But, we haven't done video or anything yet. We were thinking of getting into that, but we haven't actually even tested it yet. When were you thinking of actually doing this? And they let us know. They were like, oh, we were thinking about getting started up in the next 2 months. Oh. And yeah, we were not wholeheartedly prepared for that. And basically it started a mad scramble where Othais got all the equipment together and everything ready for the data. And he looked at me and he went, how tall are you? And I went, well, I think I'm 5'7". And we measured it in confirmation. I actually am 5'7", right on the dot. And he went, you are the perfect height for the average World War I soldier, and you are here. Would you be willing to shoot these guns for me? And of course I couldn't say no. So that's basically.
And of course that's something Othais just knows.
Huh?
I said, of course that's something Othais just knows, the average height of the World War I soldier.
Oh yeah. That is something that he just, of course, in all of his research, he just remembered it off the top of his head. That dude for details, man. It's crazy, some of the stuff he remembers. So yeah, basically ended up getting pulled into it as the shooter. Shooting ended up snowballing into photography and everything else. But yeah, that's basically how it ended up falling into the military surplus area, was that I was the perfect height and I was there, and he needed somebody at the drop of a hat. So that's basically how it worked out. And I enjoyed the shooting already. That was already something I thoroughly enjoyed just as a general hobby by then.
Yeah. That's just what you call right place at the right time, right?
Literally. And then basically we picked it up from there. He became so busy. And then turns out after all of that was getting so prepped that quickly for the Great War, they didn't even air the footage until about 7 months after that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember seeing the footage and seeing like the stuff with Althias, and it was like, it was very far into their stuff. It wasn't like right at the beginning or in the middle or something. It was like pretty far into it, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't even remember what exactly it was. It was some sort of issue that they had on their end as far as I think there was an issue with the studio or something like that. But basically, they were like, "We're going to have to push back our first airing." We went, "Well, we've already said that we're going to do this to people, and now that we've said we're going to do it, the episodes once every 2 weeks." We went, "Yeah, we're going to have to do this. We can't wait for you guys now." And they went, "All right, well, just go ahead. We'll do it whenever we can." And then basically, I think, yeah, you were right. We were probably into maybe like half a dozen episodes before they even finally aired the footage. And what sucks is that we were looking at it and we were hustling to get what we managed to get done. And it really kind of sucks because that first, and we've redone the episode since, so the footage is now spot on perfect. But if we'd actually had time to really take our time to get the right footage or the perfect footage or really go through the scripts to make sure we had everything we wanted there, those first few episodes would have been baller compared to what they were.
Is that why you've gone and redone some of the original ones?
Yeah, that is why. So we've redone the first two, which the second episode actually ended up splitting into 2 episodes, which is kind of funny. And then I think we redid episode 5 with the Gewehr. We plan on redoing the Reichsrevolver as well, but I don't think we plan on redoing much else in those first 10 episodes. But we did want to make sure, since more information has come to light as for the guns, we wanted to make sure we revisited the ones that we were the most ashamed of, basically.
Wait, the Reichsrevolver, that's your favorite, right?
Oh, God, yeah, super favorite. Love that gun. Safety, the hammer, the reach, the grip, everything. Fantastic.
Oh, it's the perfect pistol for hammering nails.
Oh, yeah, so perfect. The Gasser might be the only one that is possibly more perfect for it, with that heavy as heck iron frame.
Yeah. I was gonna say, even you guys' like first videos is much higher quality than a lot of the gun videos, on YouTube anyway. So
well, I appreciate the compliment. We were not as proud of it at the time.
I don't think anybody is ever really proud of their first stuff. I refuse to go back to listen to old podcasts, if I'll be honest with you.
God, yeah. We only
my first videos were...
I've seen them.
I haven't seen yours, actually. I don't think I've seen the first few heard the first few podcasts, is what I mean.
Well, the podcast is a bit different, but Danny's started... When did you start your channel, Danny, when you were 19, 20?
I started my channel... I started it, I think, 10 or 11 years ago or something. I did like a dirt torture test on an HK USP. And it was just the worst quality, worst camera. Didn't have a tripod. It was just terrible. But it was the only one like on the internet of an HK USP, being torture tested. So I torture tested another pistol like right after that, and that's just, I got a lot of views, I guess, because it was the only one of its type. And then I just started slowly making more over the years. But I've only been seriously making videos for maybe the past like 5 years or something like that.
Yeah, that uniqueness, though, even if the video quality isn't all there, it can drive the views, like you said. I mean, we did that video on the ALOS. We weren't expecting it to get the spread that it did for viewership. It was crazy. And when it's the only video out there, yeah, that's going to drive traffic to your channel like insanity.
Yeah, I think, Danny, your most popular video is the M1, right?
Yeah. And for some reason, that one, I guess it just hit the YouTube algorithm just right or something, because it's a top 5 video and it's about, the M1 Garand. So it's like, one of the most popular milsurps. And for some reason, I couldn't believe it. Like I checked it randomly and then it was like just at over 1 million views. I was like, what the heck?
It's crazy what makes it through the YouTube algorithm, and it never makes sense what makes it through.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he has the other one that I know that Danny loves to talk about too, is because he gets such random comments, is the fake 1911, the Filipino made one.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's like my 3rd most viewed video. Yeah, the fake 1911. That's like this like homemade fake Colt 1911 that just everything about it is just so cattywampus. The grip is like they're made of wood, but they're meant to look like plastic, and it uses like Phillip head screws, and it's all just close enough that at a glance you'll think it's a real one, but like when you really look at it. But that was just a weird.
I was going to say that the funny part is that you have like every other comment is, "I'm from the Philippines. Thanks for talking about us."
Oh yeah. Yeah, that video got such a high amount of viewership from the Philippines. Like when I looked at my demographics, I was like, holy crap, like 30% of my channel views is from the Philippines. Like, what's going on here? And it's that video. So yeah, a lot of the people were commenting like, oh yeah, that gun's, those are made in my village and that's called a so-and-so. And yeah, that one really caught traction in the Filipino YouTube milsurp market.
Man, that's weird.
Yeah, it's just random, like what pops up and YouTube algorithm, because I mean there's a couple videos that I made and I was like, okay, yeah, these for sure is going to catch on, but it just never did. Like my the video on the Belgian issued Ottoman 1893, it's got like no views, so it's the only one. It's like that's like the only rifle probably in the US, and it's like the only video on that specific Belgian reissued gun, and it's like it's got nothing. It's weird.
Yeah, it's like what's weird is we did the episode on some of the Portuguese rifles, and for some reason, I'm not sure why, YouTube hates them. YouTube actually ended up almost trying to strike us on them just because they thought there was something about them that was completely inappropriate for audiences, and we had to go through and we managed to get it all approved and okayed after a while, but I don't know what it was, but for some reason they just blacklisted them as really dangerous things compared to everything else we've had on the channel. I mean, we've shot the Vetterli, that 70-87-15 that's converted to 6.5 Carcano. Yeah, and they were fine with that. But no, the Portuguese Mausers, oh god.
That thing blew up.
I know, two
of them blew up.
Times. Horrible stuff.
I wonder if the Vigueiro is like some type of slang term in Portugal that means something vulgar, or it's just something like that, random.
We never could figure it out, and YouTube never gave us, of course, an actual reason, because that's impossible.
Oh no, they don't.
I was wondering. I wonder if maybe just somebody just had it out for something that said Portuguese, and it was just like, screw this.
Maybe.
All right,
I'm so ashamed of the rifle.
What's our next topic, Danny? I've went off on a weird tangent.
Okay. So the next question is, what is your favorite era of milsurps? I know the show kind of focuses on World War I and pre-World War I milsurps in particular, but just what era, or maybe just era nationality is your favorite in milsurps?
Well, currently it's actually been in the black powder era that I've been more focused on. So we're gearing up to start a repercussion series for C&Rsenal, which means we've been collecting, Colt Pattersons, Walkers, things of that nature. And normally when I get to the shooting range, it's just standard. Ammo's already pre-done, loaded as far as prep for me. So I just pop her in the gun, shoot the gun. It's fine. Everything usually just processes like normal. But when we started to get into the black powder stuff, there's a different feel to it. It's kind of like the difference between, I suppose some people would compare smoking a cigarette to smoking a pipe. There's like a process that goes with it. You load in the tobacco, you tamp it down, you light it. Like there's a whole like feel and an effort to it. And it's just been very pleasant, and it's been really slow, and it's very relaxing compared to everything else we've really had to get into. And it's kind of been a nice change of pace, especially going from things like, having to load up, several rounds for like machine guns and things like that, or just little 5-round clips or whatever. It's relaxing. So that's been my favorite currently.
Wow, that's a really good analogy about how loading a black powder is kind of like loading a pipe.
Well, I have pipe tobacco that I smoke as well. That was the best thing that I could think of in terms of a comparison. Like, I realized it the other day sitting on the porch that would just be a nice thing to have with it. I mean, yeah. I wouldn't, because, not a good thing to have a lighter right there with all that.
It makes total sense now that I think of it. I smoke a pipe as well, and that's crazy. That's a really good analogy.
If you don't have powder pistols, you should totally get into it. It is very chill.
I was just looking at some for sale at the gun show today, like reproduction ones, like the non-gun black powder pistols, and they're pretty like affordable. It's like $175, $200 to get into it.
Yeah, I have noticed with all the craziness going on, caps are starting to go pretty quickly too. So if you're going to get into it, go ahead and get your caps now, which is kind of crazy that those are starting to go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. Must just be something in the supply chain.
It has to be. I mean, there's only two manufacturers that are doing primers in general across the United States. So I don't know how many are doing the caps. Like, I don't know how many are set up for that. But yeah, we've already Colt Patterson in 36 caliber, and honestly, I will say I'm enjoying that one, but I think the Walker that we have in 44 is a little bit more pleasant, just because that thing weighs so much that it practically cocks itself when you go up to the range with a hammer. But
wow,
yeah,
I've got to play with the Colt Walker one time, and it is a big honking gun.
Oh yeah, they're massive. But yeah, you just go out there end of the day after a whole day of shooting, and that's like the thing you finish off with. Yeah, it's just nice.
Cool. That's neat. I might have to start really seriously considering them now. That I did not expect that answer at all. I thought maybe like, World War II or something like that. But
yeah, I guess it is true. It is kind of a bit unusual, especially considering like I collect Swiss rifles, and considering everything else I get into, even with like the machine guns and things like that. No. The black powder is where it's at. That's where you can relax at the end of the day. There's no sweating that.
I have considered getting into I really would like to reload for my 1886 Mannlicher, and but I don't have anything. I've not had any experience in loading black powder cartridges, so
yeah, I can't say we haven't done. We haven't pre-set up loads for them, like as far as in little paper loads for the Walker or the Colt Patterson. We haven't done that. We just take powder flask with us to the range and just load them up there.
Yeah, you're going further back even than me. I'm a Talic case black powder.
I should give you some. I still have a bunch of original 11mm Verndl. I should give you some of that.
I don't know why
on the clips and everything.
Why is that so common?
Yeah. It's weird. I saw, when you look for this ammo for sale, like if you wanted it, it would be kind of expensive. Like Liberty Tree, I forgot how much they want for their 11mm Verndl, like in the original box and everything. But I just came across a guy at a show, and he just had like an ammo can full of it, and it was so cheap that I was like, okay, well, I'm buying all of this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Didn't I make you buy a bunch of birthday clips too?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, that was at a show in Washington, this tiny little show in Washington State. And yeah, that guy, he had a box of like 3 and 5 shot Berthier clips full of ammo. Like they all had ammo on them or in them. And yeah, I forgot how much he wanted, like $5 a clip or something like that for the 3 and the 5s. So you were like, buy those. So I just bought them all.
It's because I could see into the future and predict that they were going to be very expensive very soon.
Oh, yeah. God, if we could kick ourselves and go back to all the gun shows we've been to, 5 years back even, the difference we could make.
I mean, I found a Swiss K31, the cardboard charger. I found one in like a junk bin at a show one time, and I paid $1 for it.
Oh, I love those junk bins.
Those can't your best find.
Yeah, he didn't even know what it was. He's like, "What is this?" And I go, "It's for a Swiss K31."
They never do. If it's in the bin, they probably don't know what it is. And I love those.
I swear, there is one guy at the South Carolina shows that I hate going to his table, but he has these bins, and he's got the bins like set aside essentially just springs, the levers, like whatever. Like he's got them labeled as that, but then you open it and it's just full of a bunch of random ones, and you sift through it, you pull it out, you hand it to him, ask him how much. He then goes and like looks it up. Like he'll sit there and stand with it for 10 minutes trying to figure out what it goes to. And then he charges you what he can find an online price comparison with.
Oh, I hate that.
Yep. I hate going to his table, but damn, he does have pretty much everything.
I hate it when vendors do that, when they don't have prices on stuff. And then when you're interested, then they look it up and then they're like, okay, it's this much. Yeah.
Like if you're going to take the time to look it up at that point, you may as well pre-label it with a price.
Yeah, well, that's too much work. I'm really surprised. I'm going to go on a little rant here. I'm really surprised how many people like at gun shows are lazy. Like how many of the vendors that work there are really lazy. Because if you go there, like they don't want to do anything. Like if you, or even like a gun store, you could call a gun store. I've seen, heard of or seen deals online at like a certain gun store, and I call them. And they don't want to like do the business over the phone. It's like too much work for them. Yeah. To like have to look at the gun and take pictures. It's such a weird thing that like so many like there's so many like lazy like vendors. And I only say that because like I've seen. Read.
No, I was just gonna say you'd think they want to make the sale. I agree.
Yeah, it's so weird. And yeah, okay. Tangent rant over.
Danny, I just looked it up. It's $55 for a box of 11 millimeter Verndl on Liberty Tree.
Okay, yeah, and it was, I don't know, I'm thinking like $10 a box or something that I paid.
You get 10 shots and 2 clips.
Yeah. With those those clip-a-zines are pretty pricey too, like on their own. But like who has an 1886?
That's even the price that it is now. I wonder what it was like before all these issues with ammo started cropping up. Like, I wonder what the price was even just last year, the difference.
Yeah, I think a batch maybe came in, like a batch of 11 millimeter Verndl came in from South America is what I'm thinking. Because the Chileans, they used the
Chileans were big on it,
for a long time. Yeah. Like surprising, the Chileans ordered specifically 1886s, like even after, the 1890s and, the whole like, 8 millimeter Mannlichers and everything were like a thing. They would buy those and then they would also buy 1886s and 11 millimeter. Like they would buy both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Danny, you looked into this, didn't you? We talked about this the other day or something, that Chile was like really heavily invested into Mannlicher and then suddenly went into Mauser.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, Chile was really big into because during their little civil war, or I shouldn't say little, but it's probably big to them. But during their civil war, they used a lot of Mannlichers, so everybody used them, and everybody was like, "Oh yeah, these things are great," especially for like the 1880s. And then at least everybody started adopting Mausers in South America, and it was one of those things where if all the countries around them adopted Mausers, well, then they're going to adopt a Mauser too. So, okay, we'll go to the next question here. So you just kind of mentioned, you owned the Swiss rifles that were on the show. Like how many of the guns in the show do you guys actually own, and like how many of them are just kind of loaners?
So the wall looks pretty full to you guys, right? If y'all have seen the or two.
Yeah.
It's pretty filled up. I would say probably about on the wall itself, maybe 1 in 12 of those we own, maybe 1 in 10. The rest of those are either loaners that have come in on shipment, or they're from a buddy of ours who lives near us to just kind of help us fill in the wall. Now, we have been gearing up for the Repercussion series and for a future shotgun series that we plan on doing that aren't on the wall itself that we do own. Mostly because the shotgun series that we're gearing up to do is going to require us to have to hold on to pieces for a long period of time. And we didn't want, us to have to hold somebody's gun for like 2 years or however long we needed to hold on to it before we could go out and get the footage, because we plan on filming a bunch of them at once.
Yeah.
So yeah, we probably only own maybe 1 in 12, maybe 1 in 10. That's only starting to increase just because of all the shotguns we've been buying lately. And even at that,
yeah,
some of those guns are only parts guns for other shotguns. So some of them aren't even in firing condition, even at that.
Yeah, I can imagine what kind of stuff you run into with a lot of those old shotguns. Is that for C&R pumped? Is that what it's called?
I haven't fully decided on a name as of yet. We've thrown around some things here and there, and if anyone's been in our Discord, I'm sure they've seen Othias in there throwing around logo ideas with a buddy of his. Yeah, it's going to be for that shotgun series. So that one's probably not going to start filming until next year. We now officially have the first 5 we need to get going, but we're trying to actually accumulate all of the pieces that we're going to have for this set period of time we plan on doing.
Makes sense.
Yeah, we're doing like, I think, I want to say 1886 until 1920-ish, maybe. And then we'll probably break off into another set after that. But we're just focusing on repeaters right now.
So are these going to be series, the percussion and then the shotguns, are these going to be series that are kind of go alongside the Milsurp series? Or
yeah, so the repercussion is it's going to, well, not go alongside it. So the repercussion series would replace a primer episode. But the shotgun series we plan on doing will actually be alongside it. So essentially it would just post the following week or something like that. But that one actually so this is what we're doing, what we wish we could have done for primer. We are preparing and making sure we have all the guns we need. They're going to be in working order. We're going to make sure we have the research that we need for it. And we're going to make sure we already have all the outdoor filming for a fair bit of them already taken care of before we release the episodes on them.
Yeah, nice.
So, yeah, it's actually nice that we're going to be able to do that. Now, I think we'll probably do is the patrons that we have on Patreon and Subscribestar, they'll probably get the first looks at everything that we're doing, because we plan on going a little more in depth for it. Not in depth for it. We plan on setting it up essentially different from primer. It's not going to look the same as primer. But I think it still will be very engaging. I think people will like it. It's going to be shorter than primer too. We're not going to be doing those hour-long episodes that some of our fans thoroughly appreciate and some tune out after about 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's just about getting that right balance.
Exactly.
Keeping everybody's attention, which is a really uphill battle these days.
Oh God, yeah. Some people, their attention span can only be about 5 minutes. And even at that, these episodes for the shotgun stuff, we're probably only going to have them maybe be 15 minutes max.
Oh, that's a nice digestible size.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why we also didn't want them to replace the primer episodes, because they would be too short, and they honestly they aren't going to be structured the same as we already have set for primer. So we wouldn't want people to feel like they're getting less for it. And since I've come on working full-time with C&Rsenal this past year, Othias' schedule has opened up with me on just enough that we think we're going to be able to essentially produce them, concurrently.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be really cool. I've definitely gotten used to the hour-long, primer episodes. So, yeah.
Well, don't worry, those aren't going away. Because once we're one, man, we are just going to bust things wide open. We are not putting a restriction on it once we breach through World War I.
Yeah,
awesome.
I told Danny that when I posted my Lee Navy, there was some very much happy people. And
I can imagine.
I believe you said something, May, about like you're gonna let me shoot that, right?
Knowing me, I probably did. God only knows when I posted that comment.
I just remember Othias said something, and then you commented about it, and then Othias messaged me directly and was like, "Hey, you wouldn't mind us borrowing that, right?"
I mean, come on, don't you wanna? Come on.
I will definitely let you borrow it. It's the only thing in my collection that's probably like... Thanks, Danny, for coughing over me.
Oh, sorry.
You've got the Rona.
I muted it. Yeah.
All right. No, I really would like to get the Lee Navy shooting, but I talked to Danny about this, I think, earlier today. It's going to be about $300 just for the brass, and then however much it's going to be to get the dies made.
Yeah, damn, I can only imagine what that's going to get up to.
Yeah, and what's nice, though, is that, a lot of people that don't know, and I'll just go off on a quick tangent here, is we just talked about this today, Danny and I did, so there were 2 high-profile failures of the Lee Navy within the last 20 years or so, and one resulted in a guy's death, and another one lived, but both resulted in the guns being completely destroyed. And the guy that lived, I have actually spoken to on Reddit. He's on Reddit, and when I posted my Lee Navy, he started contacting me, and his investigation into the guy that passed away's a failure in his was that they were using 30-40 brass converted to 6mm, and to do that you had to cut an extractor groove in the brass itself, and the case just failed essentially.
Oh.
Yeah, and so he was like, don't use 30-40 brass if you're going to shoot this. And I'm like, well, no, my plan is, and here's a promo for you guys at RCC, to use RCC brass, which they CNC mill out each piece from a block of brass. And so they don't draw the brass. They use a stronger alloy because they don't have to draw it. And it's extremely expensive.
It's like $5 a pop, right?
It's $5 an individual shell, an individual case, and it's a minimum order of 50. But they're the only game in town as far as like, this is brand new, correctly made, CNC to the right specifications, 6mm Lee Navy, you know.
Yeah. I guess when you're the only game in town, you can charge what you want, but it does actually sound like it's probably pretty expensive, like to manufacture.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the process of how they do it, but I'm sure it's not a cheap thing. And I've told Danny about making 8mm 8x52R brass out of 4570 for my Siamese Mausers, and I hate it.
Sacrifice we make, right?
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm not gonna do it. I'll buy it.
Yeah, because I remember at the range, you know, I'm one of like 5 people in the continental United States that has actually fired a Siamese Mauser. But I remember every now and then, like one of the brass pieces would hang up because of the rim.
Yeah, I'm just like, screw it. I'm not gonna do it anymore.
Rimmed cartridges.
Gotta love them.
Yeah, that's another one of those weird ones, Danny, that doesn't have any views because nobody cares about it. Because it's like the only video of Siamese Mauser shooting on the internet is on your channel. And nobody's seen it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's gotten like a dozen or so views.
Still, that's insane to me. It's weird. I've got my own feelings on how YouTube's algorithm works and the videos that are popular versus the videos that aren't.
But I mean, I guess in that case, it's like, who's looking up Siamese Mausers?
That's true. Honestly, it does seem to be like people will want to watch a video on something they already know, especially if it's something they already own. And they're like, oh, I know what that is. Ooh, I own that. I really want to see this now.
Yep. Videos on the more common guns get more views. Like you could make a video on a Yugo M48 and you get way more views than if you did a video on like a early, Mauser, auto loading rifle.
The only thing that seems to trip it up, and I've noticed this, is if it's got a weird or a wow factor to it. Like, it's crazy to me that our highest number viewed video, it has over 21 million views. And don't tell me how that happened, because I don't know. We literally titled, Guess What We Found? And it's just me loading the air service rifle. When we filmed that, we thought, oh yeah, this will be a little funny thing we'll put out. It'll get maybe a few thousand views. No, 21 million. That makes no sense to me.
It's like a 45-second video.
Yeah, it's 43 seconds. Or like the ALOS video, which he filmed it real quick on our buddy's porch, 2.2 million views. I mean, that makes no sense to me. But it's got the wow factor, the weird factor about it. it sings with the viewership.
I've seen clips of you firing the T-Gewehr, though, in different places before as well, though.
Different places?
Yeah, like no. Like, people have taken clips of that video and posted it somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and like that, where I was like not expecting to see it, and I'm like, oh, there's May, and there's the T-Gewehr.
Like every 6 months now or so, I'll see it just suddenly pop up in Instagram or something like that, and I'll be like, oh yeah, there it is. Hello, me. That was us. Or not Instagram. It pops up on Imgur like all the time.
Yeah, but it's like that wow factor you're talking about, because it's such a humongous, ridiculous looking thing.
I look like a pixie next to it. Like, it just the size proportion difference. It's crazy looking even when I look at it. I still remember carrying that thing and thinking, yeah, this is a massive feeling gun. But it wasn't until I actually saw it on camera that I went, man, I look super tiny. Like, what is going on? This is bizarre looking to me. But yeah,
that was one of my favorite episodes. The T-Gewehr. That's an incredible gun.
It's an interesting of course it makes sense how you come up with it, because it's very straightforward in its setup. It's just the large car, like it's fine. And it did the job for the short period, like a very, very short period. It did the job, and then it didn't.
Yep. Like most anti-tank rifles, they work until they don't.
I don't know.
I have a question here.
I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna make a stupid joke, because that I've always wanted a boys anti-tank rifle.
I think we all could use one. I'm for this plan.
I was like, I just really want one for some reason. I have no interest in anti-tank rifles. I have no interest in anything, but I've always wanted a boys anti-tank rifle.
Got one yet?
No. And if I got one, I would keep it 55, obviously. I'm not really one for the people that convert them to 50. I see why, but I also been like, no.
That's fair. You got to keep it original. I agree. If it makes you feel any better, I want a T-Gewehr. Granted, I have shot it, so I guess there is that, but it did kind of make a special place in my heart. It's dumb and it's funny, and I want one.
I think that might be why I want one too. And I want to get, I can't remember I think it's the Mark II that has the huge muzzle suppressor at the end of it. It's like a big box for the boys, and it's just ridiculous looking.
It's fantastic. Anyway,
Danny, go on.
But speaking of the T-Gewehr, I have a question here with the T-Gewehr in it, so I'll just go ahead and skip to this question. So it's a two-parter. I heard you say on the show that you are a quote-unquote recoil queen. What do you like about recoil? And then, and other than the T-Gewehr, what was the harshest recoiling rifle on the show that you remember?
Okay. Yeah, this one, I remember it. So about the recoil, it's kind of like, I'm going to use one of those analogies again. It's kind of like watching fireworks. There's not really much to them. You're just lighting it, and it goes up in the sky, and it does a big explosion or whatever. But I don't know, there's something that's just exciting about it. That's really just it's a loud explosion. Like, there's pretty colors. Like, it's just fun to do, right? A lot of people like fireworks. I kind of equate that to heavy recoil. It's fun. There's a loud bang, and it just, I don't know. It's always just been entertaining to me whenever it's just something that is what should appear larger than what it is, yet it's still always something that's tiny that's making such a large sound that goes with it. The recoil is impressive. The concussive force that comes with it, I don't know, the whole process of it is just exciting. So shooting the T-Gewehr, that kind of is what that felt like to me. Was kind of like shooting fireworks. It was just fun and entertaining, and it made a loud boom, and I liked it.
Yeah. So other than the T-Gewehr, what was the harshest recoiling rifle on the show that you can remember? Like, what gun, when you shot it, you were really like, okay?
Easy, the wall gun. Have y'all seen me shoot the wall gun on here? Oh God, it was horrible.
Oh yeah, a while back.
So like my favorite. Okay, so that was we were invited to essentially assist and also just be there at the Citadel was having the range day that they do for this history class that they teach there. The teacher always takes the Citadel cadets out, and they all get to shoot the guns that they've learned about essentially from their lessons. So they had everything ranging from black powder to machine guns to the wall gun. And it's a great experience for them. The cadets seem to have a ton of fun. They go through it in groups, for the era that, the guns are associated with. And it's well structured and it looks nice. The wall gun, it should be set up, like on a pole or something, or even just like you could have somebody even potentially like holding the, right where the pole is supposed to set underneath it. That could even potentially work. No, they basically set it up on a sawhorse, just a plastic one. Put that on the ground. It doesn't really work out so well in terms of recoil mitigation. It knocked several cadets on their butts that day. It was too funny. But basically, yeah, that one actually technically had worse recoil than the T-Gewehr just because the setup for it was so bad. There was nothing to help balance it out. So it just rocked me back like real good. We did a good slow motion on that video of it, just showing my shoulder. I'm amazed I didn't dislocate it or anything like that. Not that it felt like it. It's just watching the video. I'm looking at it being like, oh, that's got to hurt. And then I'm like, oh shit, that was me. That was me shooting that.
Wow. I need to go back and watch that again.
It was definitely an experience. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I do not recommend shooting those on plastic sawhorses.
Yep. Duly noted.
Mm-hmm. The cadets had a ton of fun with it, though. It was a good day for them. A good lesson, too, on how to position yourself on your knees to appropriately handle the recoil of that. Which I never actually had shot anything with significant recoil on my knees before, so that was a different experience.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of prone shooting, mostly just standing, but I hear, whenever the recoil on a gun is a lot different, like, prone versus standing versus, I guess, on your knees on a sawhorse.
Oh, yeah, that's why we did the T-Gewehr the way we did, because laying prone with it, I could understand how if you get it in just the right spot, there is the potential for that to be a collarbone breaker. I could honestly see that. But, I mean, we did that standing with it dug into sandbags. And dang, if that doesn't make a huge difference in the recoil mitigation.
Yeah. It'd be pretty metal, though, if you broke a bone from shooting a T-Gewehr. That'd be a cool story.
Would be the last time that it happened, too. It's like, oh, cool. I'm the one in this decade. Nice. I get that little badge.
The first one in this century.
Oh, yeah. I do see that, though, when it does pop up, is that people are like, oh, that breaks bones.
Yeah. You know what? I get a lot of trash talk on one of my videos where I shoot a 40 millimeter grenade launcher, and I was shooting actual like real weighted projectiles that are the same weight as the HE stuff that they shoot. So it's like a pound. It's like the projectile is like a pound, something like that. And the grenade launcher itself is like 3 pounds, something like that. So, you just have the mixture of a super light gun with a, really, really, big projectile that you're shooting. And I get so much people trash talking me in the comments of that video, because that recoil was pretty brutal. That's the harshest thing I ever shot. That's the only thing I shot, and I shot it once, and I was like, I don't want to do this again.
Well, damn, if it rocks you that good, I could understand. You at least had the experience of it. That's the thing, is that you tried it, and hey, you got to say you shot it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and then true. I almost guarantee you, Danny, that the people are like, oh, you can't handle it, like have never shot one either.
Oh God, no. Nothing close to it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. For sure. Like who's shot a 40 millimeter, but like, especially in such a light package like that. One of the most surprising things was how like flat the trajectory is on a 40 millimeter. Cause I was aiming, like, if you see it, I was on a lake. The friend who owns it, he like lives on a lake. So we're just shooting kind of at this island out in the lake. And I was aiming like up. It's sad to admit, but like my only experience with a 40 millimeter prior to this is like Call of Duty. So I'm kind of like, aiming high because I'm expecting it to kind of lob, So yeah. I aimed high at the island and I shoot and it just disappears because it didn't hit anything because it shoots so flat.
Oh God.
And I think the second or third time that I shot it on camera, I kind of shot closer to us, and one of the times the chalk round kind of disintegrated in air, so it made a little like orange plume, like 50 yards out, which is pretty neat. That was a lot of fun. And then after I shot it, I was like wanting to buy some to kind of pay him back, like as a thank you for letting me shoot it. And I saw how expensive they were. I was like, man, I would not have shot as many of those as I did. I knew it was that expensive.
Oh God, that's fair. It's like when we were shooting the Tigewehr. It was he had rounds that were reloaded from the 70s. Essentially, is what we were shooting, and they were he had original set aside that he was keeping, but he felt even bad just shooting those.
Yeah, reloads from the 70s. That's getting like quasi historical.
I know. I think Ian over on Forgotten Weapons actually did shoot original loads when he shot his Tigewehr.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he shot. Yeah, he set up armor that was equivalent of like a British tank.
Appropriate angle and everything. And that poor man, he and the owner shot it from a camera tripod.
Oh.
And it looks so unstable. And they both dropped it, and I was like, there's no way they would have been able to keep that up.
Oh,
it was
man.
Amazing. Their shoulders must have kicked that day.
Yeah. See, that's when you need a sawhorse.
Yeah, right. The sawhorse might have been better.
But what is the Swedish anti-tank gun with the skis?
Oh,
I can see it.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I forgot what it is too. Is it the Gustav, or am I thinking of something else? It's nicknamed the Gustav.
I think.
Is that the cannon?
Okay, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's the L39. It's the 20 millimeter anti-tank gun. It's got the big ass skis underneath it.
The Lottie?
Yeah, the Lottie. Yeah.
Oh,
I've seen two of those up close. I actually went to Knob Creek a couple of years ago for the machine gun shooting range, and they had two of them for sale, and it was like, this thing is awesome.
Jeez, how much were they?
A lot less than you'd expect. I think the one that was the cheaper one was like 6,000.
Oh, only 6?
I mean, it's a 20 millimeter anti-tank gun, Danny, and
that's actually not bad.
It's you don't understand just how freaking enormous it is.
Oh my God, that thing weighs over 100 pounds? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm looking up the specs on it. It says it weighs over 100 pounds.
That's crazy.
109 pounds.
Oh my God.
They pull that thing on a sled with dogs or something? Is that what?
I mean, dang, you're doing some heavy lifting that day.
The one that I saw that was the good package that had the rifle, it had like 20 or 30 rounds of ammunition, and it had like a couple of like leather covers that it had for it or something like that, and it was like $6,000 or $7,000, and I was like, that's not as much as I was expecting this to be.
Yeah, 20 millimeter, man. That's like, I think that's legally artillery. I know it's a DD.
Oh, it's nicknamed the elephant gun. That's right.
It definitely rekindled my interest in getting a boys rifle when I saw it, because I was like, this is amazing.
This guy set it up right here. Oh, it looks awesome. I would love to try that. We need to make our way up to Knob Creek sometime.
Well, and then also I see the first video that it pops up is Ian's, and he has shot one, of course.
He shot God knows everything.
He shot everything. Yeah, you guys I could see C&Rsenal making some pretty epic videos up at Knob Creek.
Funny story. So we have not indirectly, we have now encountered the owner by buying something of his. We didn't even know. So Matthias has been looking for hand traps off and on as part of a collection for the shotgun theories. And he found one on Facebook Marketplace that he'd seen a patent for, and he was excited, to purchase it. And so he's messaging back and forth with the woman who is doing the sale with him. And she's like, you'd really like my dad. He's super into this gun stuff and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, really? Okay. That'd be really cool. She was like, yeah, you might have met him. He does this big shoot. And he was like, oh, and he was like, yeah, he runs Knob Creek. He's the owner of Knob Creek. And we were like, oh, That's good to know. Wait, he's the one that, and it turns out he was the one that owned the hand trap that he was buying too. So he sent a letter with us when we got it in the mail that was like, hey, come up to Knob Creek, when we're throwing it next. So that was kind of cool. Small world.
Yeah, that is. Well, when the world opens back up, you guys have to.
Yeah, definitely. I went on a Sunday and it was amazing.
Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the Sunday is obviously the last day, and typically on those kind of days, kind of winds down. But it was still amazing. Like they still did most of the shoots, and of course, the part that I liked the most was this guy had like an actual cannon. I don't know how big it was, but like he was shooting cannonballs.
Fun. Oh, that's.
It wasn't just like, oh, he was shooting off a blank. No, he was shooting freaking cannonballs, and you could see like this when it hit the mound. It was just like, poof.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I like that. Oh, I'm gonna have to go try that, or at least be there for that, because that sounds awesome.
Yeah, and it's kind of neat. So they have it. The way it's set up is like the range is, it's basically a big hillside near the river, and so the range is you're shooting into the hillside. So it's just this big mound of earth that's essentially like almost like a small. Basically like a medium-sized hill, and they actually have stands set up like bleachers for like a high school football game set up so that you can watch the shoots.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, and then of course we didn't get to see it because I think they do it Saturday night, but they do one of the nights there they do all tracer rounds.
Oh, so that's fun.
So you can go and watch them shoot all the machine guns with tracer rounds.
Oh, I just remembered. Yeah, the CNN footage or whatever from that was supposedly from like Syria or something, but it was actually Knob Creek during the night shoot.
Remember that? That was so good. Oh,
that was so good.
It was so funny.
Yeah. Knob Creek got some attention.
Some free publicity there.
Yeah, I have to say, I was impressed with how it was set up too. It was very like professional. I was kind of expecting it to be a little bit crazy, but it was like very organized.
How many years have they been doing it? Do y'all know?
No, I'm actually not that far away from it, to be honest. I think I'm like 2 or 3 hours away, and I've only been once.
What are you doing?
What?
Yeah, right? That's where I'm at. What? Man, I'd be there. Well, probably not every year, but I'd be there pretty frequently. Well, now we will have to next time since we have the invite from the owner.
They've been operating for 40 years, it says.
Dang.
Oh, wow.
And they have a full like gun store too, like a huge gun store. It's 2 levels, and it has like a restaurant and everything, and it's all right there next to the range. And I was actually looking at buying some guns when I was there because I was trying to sell one of mine, and I mean they had some good stuff, a lot of good stuff.
Oh wow, yeah, they even have an online store and everything too. That's pretty cool. Yeah, if you need your whiskey or cocktails, they've got you set. Looks like too.
Oh wow. So that's what I'm about, is a gun store that serves alcohol, which I'm always surprised when like gun shows serve alcohol.
I'm hoping this is the same Knob Creek, and I'm not just spitting out there, but
well, it's in West Point, Kentucky. Should be Knob Creek Gun Range is what Knob Creek Range is the website.
Oh, okay. Nope, different one. I lied. I'm a liar. I called myself out on
I was looking forward to
right?
I was looking forward to the whiskey bar at Knob Creek.
Well, the thing is,
interesting, right?
When you said that, I was like, but this is Kentucky, so there's a lot of random. Well, no, there's a lot of random counties in Kentucky that are dry.
It's true. It's super bizarre. Although I did love we drove through Kentucky a while back, and I loved it because we were literally exiting one that was completely dry, and on the other side of the line was a Rite Aid. And it had Rite Aid, and above the title Rite Aid, in bigger, bolder letters, liquor.
Yeah. Illinois does not allow fireworks for 4th of July, like personal fireworks.
What?
On the border, everywhere you go on the border of Illinois, around 4th of July, there are thousands of fireworks stands right across the border.
What is wrong with Illinois?
I mean, there's lots of stuff. We don't have time to get into that.
Okay, that's fair. This would be a much longer podcast in that case.
Well, speaking of shooting, one of the questions that I have here for you is, on average, how long does it take to shoot one shooting segment per episode? So how long does it take to film a shooting segment?
So the shooting segments, if we're just cutting out all of the overhead that goes into the shooting segment itself, just me taking the gun at the range, like I'm already there at the range, everything's already pre-set up. The actual shoot time, we may only go through like 1 or 2 clips or M blocks or whatever. So that goes pretty quickly, as anyone might know. But to actually get there to the range and actually get the shooting segment done, that's an entire day for the shooting segment itself, because we have to prep all of our gear. So if anyone's seen our How We Made It episode, we use like 4 different camera setups, and we've got all of our audio equipment there too, to be able to catch all the highs and the lows of the entire break of the gun going off itself, so that there's no peak once we mesh it all together. So you get all of the sound of the shot. But yeah, to get everything out there and set and prepped, it is pretty much an entire day, because we have to make sure all the batteries are charged, everything's good to go, all the cards are ready. And then on top of that, we have to fix any issues that happen on range, because these aren't brand new. These are guns that we got in and they have been tested, but invariably when you take it to the range, something's going to go wrong. It turns out it's duffel cut. Well, shoot. Okay, now that's got to get fixed. That gets pulled off the range. Or, this one's got a loose barrel lug. Like this one's got this issue. Like it's been a number of things that have happened on range that we've had to stop, try to fix the gun on range. When we can't, we then have to take it, get it fixed off range, and then bring it back to refilm on an entirely different range day. But we try to since it's such an entire process to kind of get out there and get it done, we aren't just taking one gun. I think the most we ever brought was 8 rifles, and that was a pretty long day. Because that was back when we were dumb and we forgot to bring water sometimes and or food, because we were brighter kids back then. That was fun. Not learn our lesson fast enough on that one.
Yeah, that's 8's a lot. 8's a lot for like a shooting day. Like only because like I've done similar things going out to the range or whatever, and the 8 is a lot to try. That's biting off more than you can chew, kind of.
We only go out once a month. That's the thing. So we basically have the range reserved for 1 day a month to go out and get this taken care of. So rain or shine, hopefully we're looking for a cloudy day. So cloudy days are honestly the best ones, when it looks like it's going to rain. Oh, the lighting on that, gorgeous. No hard shadows. Everything's evenly lit. Don't really have to worry about what time of the day we shoot. Absolutely pristine footage comes out from those days. But then those are the days that it's a high chance of rain, because it's Charleston. And when there's cloud cover, we usually have rain. Some of the footage we just do in the rain, which actually can feel nice, especially when it's summertime. Yeah,
that's rough. When I lived in Washington, I was trying to, because it rains nonstop for like 9 months there. And we moved there when it was just the worst time of the year. And I was waiting for like a day of no rain. Like I was watching the weather for like week after week after week to try to see if I could find a time to shoot when it doesn't rain. Because if it's like a modern gun, I don't care about taking like an AR out and getting it wet or whatever. It's not a big deal. But I don't want to get like a lot of my old guns wet. I don't want to warp the stocks or get any, rust or anything anywhere. So I waited so long. It wasn't a good day for like months. So I just went and I bought like a canopy tent and just set that up. And I filmed like only one video with that thing when I shot the 35M.
I was going to say it's the 35M.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't even think about the super loud rain sound of the rain pouring down on top of the canopy tent too.
Oh no.
You can barely hear Danny because it's just like,
yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, it was terrible. So I didn't shoot very many guns when I lived in Washington, even though it was a beautiful range, like up at the top of this mountain.
I think didn't you do you did the Chinese conversion
Oh yeah, the Chinese Arasaka. Yeah, in 7.62 by 39. Yeah, that video I filmed there. That was like during the 3 months that it's like actually nice in Washington. There's like 3 months of like sunshine. It's pretty nice.
That would make our show practically impossible. We'd have to be filming in the rain all the time. There's no way. I can't imagine doing that schedule.
Yeah, that was rough. That was a hard place to film. Utah was easier. The weather in Utah was a little bit more timid and rain a whole lot. Dump snow every now and then. And I don't think I filmed too many shooting videos in the snow. But that was the BLM lands out west. Like being from Florida, like it's so woody and it's hard to find a range, that even goes past like 100 yards. Mm-hmm. If you have like a 200 or 300 yard range, that's a miracle, in the densely forested South. So going out west and just the huge open expanses. And then there's, the BLM lands, which is the Bureau of Land Management. They just, there's just land. There's just hundreds and hundreds of just open acres. You can just shoot on any of it if you want. And so I just would go out there and pick a place and like, all right, do I want to shoot 500 yards today or what? And filmed quite a few videos out there that were just, never looks as good in the video as it does, in real life. But there's a couple of them where there's like these majestic mountains in the background and stuff that was special. That was a special place.
Amazing. Yeah, we have a 100-yard range that we shoot at now, and you're not wrong about just woodland just being surrounding us here in Charleston. I mean, we have a friend of ours that luckily he's looking to in the future, and unfortunately he's not sure when next year he's going to get started on it. But he plans on setting himself up with a 700-yard range, but it's all his land, of course, already. So we might have access to that in the future, but right now we're stuck at basically everyone around us having 100-yard ranges. Yep.
That's the way it is in the South.
Yeah. The moment you exit the forest, you just hit swamp over here.
Yep. Yeah. Most of our county was swamp. It was I call the part of Florida that I'm from the armpit of Florida. Because like if you look at like the panhandle that sticks out as like an arm, and like the rest of it's like a torso. Oh, yep. If you have the unfortunately, if you go to the beach there, it smells terrible. The beach in my hometown. Yeah, like Keaton Beach was the beach in my hometown. And it smelled so bad. There's like signs like don't go in the water because of bacteria, and that smelled really bad. And so that's the thing. So when I moved to Utah and I went to the Salt Lake, that lake stinks like really, really bad because of the brine and the because there's only like 5 things that can live in it, and then they die and nothing can eat them. So like Salt Lake smelled like the beach in Florida.
Oh. That's so sad. I've been spoiled here because we've got Sullivan's, which is a really nice setup for a beach over here. And then if you're not feeling fancy with your beach time, you just go over to Folly Beach where all the college kids are.
Yeah. I've heard there's some really nice beaches over there. I think, what is it? Myrtle is the one everyone talks about.
Oh, no, not a nice beach. Don't go there. No.
Myrtle is the is the tourist beach.
Is that the PCB of South Carolina?
That's what we think of as the armpit beach over
there. That's the one that you don't go to, Danny.
Everything that was nice about Myrtle is no longer there. It's gone to shit, man. Don't do it.
Yeah, I went to Myrtle Beach when I was like 5, and that was when it was like really popular to go there.
It wasn't bad. It was nice. You could rent a house over in what is it, Hilton Head? Is that what's close to Myrtle? I want to say.
The last time I was there, I was 5 years old.
I'm asking you, I'm sorry. I'm asking you like you're now. I'm trying to remember. Like, yeah, you'd rent a house and then you'd go over to Myrtle and you'd have a good time. But nope, don't do that anymore. It's not a good place. Not a fun place to be anymore. Not a good crowd.
Dang, sounds like it got PCB-ified.
Yeah, just go over. Just come on down to Charleston. We'll go over. We'll hang out at Sullivan's or something. Get a burger down there. There's a decent burger place near the shore.
Yeah, that sounds good. It's been a while since I've seen the ocean.
Although I've been spoiled, I have been to Hawaii once, and once you go and see that clear blue water and come back to what we have here, man, it's hard to get back in the ocean when you can't see what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I took a cruise with my wife for our honeymoon, and we went to in the Caribbean, and it was we did snorkeling at a reef in the Bahamas, and like it was so crazy that my wife has this massive fear of open water, but she was like, "Let's go snorkeling," and I'm like, "Are you crazy?" and I was like, "Okay," so we went on the honeymoon in December, and it's like the water is like 70 degrees and the air is like 85. So it was like you jump in the water, it was like instant shock. And but the thing was like she was okay with it because it's like you can see like 100 feet under the water.
Oh God!
It was crazy because you could just like it was so weird because we're from Southern Illinois. She's from Central Illinois. But like all the lakes or whatever that we've ever swam in is like the visibility is like 2 inches.
Yeah.
We might even have just that 2 inches pretty much.
So there's a part of Florida called the Emerald Coast. It goes from about like East Point, like St. George Island over to kind of Pensacola. And that's the way it is there. It's the water's like crystal clear a lot of times and emerald color, it's a nice blue green. And clear.
See, that sounds pleasant. All I want is to be able to see a shark coming at me. I mean, I'm probably going to die anyway, or it's probably going to take a little nibble out of me. I just want to see it happening. That's all I want. Give me a little peace of mind at it, I suppose.
Oh, we've really gone off of
I believe, Danny, that I got yelled at the last time I tried to correct you and get us on topic.
Oh yeah, yep. You're the whip cracker.
Yeah, Danny posts these to the YouTube channel, and the one video that I tried to keep us on topic the whole time, everybody was like, "Why does Aaron think he's controlling the show? He just like seems to like want to just control everything." I was just like, "Friggin' A, oh, fine."
Fine, talk about what you want to talk about. So a lot of the questions that I have left are kind of similar because I asked a couple people like if they had any anything they could think of. So let's see.
All right, whatever you like.
Okay. Let's see. What is your favorite caliber to shoot, both in rifle and handgun?
So that one's an interesting question. I saw that and I was like, well, it kind of depends on the actual gun it's coming out of. So realistically, however the gun is set up, it's going to handle the caliber differently. It's interesting. So I enjoy shooting my Moss 4956. I enjoy shooting it a lot. So like I don't take it out as often as I should, but it is one of my most favorite guns to shoot. It hit a good chord with me when I was first getting into actually collecting. So I can't even say that I'm a really big fan of the cartridge itself or the French, but the sound that it makes when it's coming out of it, the recoil with it, how it's so balanced well in the rifle, it just fits the rifle well. It always felt like the recoil was always very manageable. It kind of felt almost like a shotgun in that it came back with almost like a linear force to it with the recoil itself. So for me, the caliber isn't really something I pay so much attention to as how it performs with the rifle. Does that make sense?
Danny's muted himself somehow.
Yep. Yeah, I think I know what you mean. I know what my favorite caliber is instinctively, which is
6.5 Swedish.
Oh no, a 7mm Mauser, man. I mean, I do love 6.5. 6.5 Swede is sweet. But I think 7mm Mauser is probably my fave.
How many of your own guns actually do take that caliber?
Like a handful, mostly like South American Mausers. I want to get my hand on a Venezuelan FN49 because that shoots 7mm. So I could see that like a semi-automatic 7mm being a really good shooter, especially with it's got a brake on it.
never shot an FM49, but I would like to shoot one of those. They do look like fun. I actually did pass one up at a gun show a few years back. I remember it wasn't too. I don't even know what they go for now. I'm literally going to throw up the price. I think I remember seeing it for. I think I remember seeing it for $650 on a table. At the time, I just didn't have the cash or anything, and I just thought it looked really interesting. I'd never shot one before. I passed it up. I don't even know what they go for now. What are they even running these days?
I don't even know. I don't really look at them because I don't. Danny will tell you, but I'm more of the hipster. That's more. I got rid of all my semi-autos, and I don't really care for them. I'm so weird here.
Are you a bolt action kind of man? Or?
Yeah, I like having something to manipulate. So I have a pump action 22. And all the rest of my guns are bolt actions. And I have been looking at getting ironically a 7mm rolling block, because I really like the way the rolling blocks look and how they operate. And you guys have done one for the show, right?
Yeah, we've shot one before. Those are fun to shoot. It's a slow process with it, but it's like I was describing the black powder. It's pleasant.
Was yours the French one? Was that 8mm?
Trying to remember.
I don't remember.
Now you've got me going, because at this point, yes, it was the French. Yes. Okay, yeah, it was the French one.
The 8mm Lebel one, yeah. Once again, my first rifle was a 1895 Chilean Mauser, which is 7mm, and it's obviously the gun I've shot the most, and I am a huge fan of M95s. And I don't know if you're aware of that, May, but I have 10 of them. And
you need more.
Yeah, I always love them. I have so many of the rare variants. I have one that is only 5,000 ever made. Yeah. So actually, I'll just BRNO out of Czechoslovakia made 5,000 M95s when they were still trying to figure out if they were going to make their own rifles, and I have one of those.
Dang, that's a pretty good find. Okay, yeah, maybe you might need to find more of those.
Yeah, I have a couple more that I need to get that are the more rare variants, but I do shoot the 8x56R quite often because it's the second most shot caliber I have. But I prefer the 7mm if I was going to shoot a lot versus the 8x56R. And I still have a long rifle in 8x56R, and it's not that bad in that caliber, in that size, because it's a much bigger rifle. But I'd rather have a 7mm.
You said you're collecting all the variants. Do you know how many more you have to go?
Yeah, so I have to get. I actually don't have an original caliber M95, as sad as that is to say. I don't have an original caliber, either long rifle or short rifle. So I need an 8x50R. So that's one. I don't have an Italian capture or Italian war reparations rifle, which is called an AOI rifle, which is what they gave to their African colonies. They'd burn into the stocks a huge brand that says AOI, so that if they got stolen, they would know who stole it.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
So those are more uncommon because those stayed in Africa, and a lot of those got captured by the British and then given to the Middle Eastern groups that they were trying to help rise up, or in India. So a lot of those stayed around a long time, and they're beat to crap for the most part. But those are original caliber still too. Those are 8x50R. So I need that. I need a Polish one. A lot of the Polish ones actually ended up going to the Spanish Civil War, as weird as that is to say. So Poland ended up with M95 rifles after the fall of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, because there was part of their land was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, so they had rifles, and then they sold those to Russia, who gave them to the Spanish, not Franco, whatever the other side was, and they got captured by Franco, so Franco's side used captured M95s from Poland.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so there's a couple more. There's a couple of actual the hardest one that's going to be to find is a German capture one from World War II, because there's a lot of fakes. And I was just telling Danny, I posted on Reddit a really, really terrible fake that has 7 Waffenamps and 3 different double SS runes in different spots. It's just really, really bad.
No, the more Waffenamps, the more authentic it is.
Yes. It even has a production code stamp for a plant that doesn't exist. Like, the code doesn't exist.
They just went all out. Yeah, more Waffenamps equals more value.
Yeah, that's what that means. I knew it.
I've seen the fakes before, and most of the time they actually bother to stamp the production code for Steyr, and it's like, okay, that's a good try. Germany never made any, but good try. And then this one was just like, no, we're not even going to bother. It's just going to be, we're going to stamp a bunch of SS runes. We're going to stamp a bunch of Waffenamps. There's 6 in the stock, or 3 in the stock, 4 on the side, 2 on top. It's just like, whatever. It's Nazi.
That's an example of something that's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
Actually, I do want to buy that. A friend of mine has it, and I do want to buy it because just how audacious the fake is. It's like they win.
That in itself is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet you could take it to a gun show, and most of like the FUDs there would believe it. They'd probably offer you something good for it.
They probably would.
Yeah, but there's so the German capture ones. The problem is a lot of the countries that captured M95s didn't mark them in any way. So a lot of them ended up in different areas, but they didn't mark them. I don't have an M95M, but I do have an M95-24, which is the early version of it. So I do need to get an M95M. So that's Yugoslavia.
Yeah, and those are fairly common. Like you find them, but not all the time with a clip and not all the time with an intact extractor.
No, that's the problem.
Yeah.
So actually, I have 2 rifles in 8mm Mauser, and Danny likes to bring this up. I have 2 rifles in 8mm Mauser that are not Mausers.
I mean, that's a collection you could start there in and of itself.
Yeah, I have a Vigero, the 1939 conversion, and I have the M95-24, which is 8mm. And the Vigero I love. It's actually really fun to shoot.
Yeah, the Portuguese Vigero.
Yeah, you did the 6.5 one.
Yeah, it's not a bad shooter.
Yeah, so I have the 8mm version, which they actually shortened a little bit, and it's a lot of fun. I like it a lot. Danny's actually looking at a Portuguese Monlicker, I think, weren't you?
Yeah. The Greek one just kind of slipped through my fingers.
He just missed out on a Greek Monlicker Schonauer.
Those are gorgeous too. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got outbid within the last 10 minutes, and it ended up selling for like $550.
I hate that. That stuff.
And the worst part is that it was a terrible listing. Like, the gun was incorrectly labeled, and then the pictures were awful. Like 20 feet away in the shadow. So it was like, you're taking a gamble, even if it's got any parts missing. This guy doesn't have any clue, because the description was, it's a gun, basically.
Oh.
Yeah. The pictures are taken with a potato at dumb angles.
Well, somebody's got a mystery gun, I guess, that they'll possibly be getting in the mail.
Well, I mean, you could see it. It is a Monlicker Schonauer. It is a correct 1903.
Definitely tell. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. But we did figure out that he did say it was Breda, and that's what he thought the model name was Breda. So it was it's an Italian one. It was the ones that the Italy made for the Greek in, what was it, the 20s, wasn't it, Danny?
Yeah, 20s, I think. Yeah, late 20s.
So that's why it was all screwed up. He had it listed as a Breda M95.
Dang. So that actually, that listing just kind of went under the radar for probably anyone looking for it directly.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is how you find the good deals.
Oh, yeah. I have found misspellings of books that way that we needed that. Otherwise, we're not in production anymore. But hey, Is that Dry Mosin book that I need, Volume 1 misspelled? Yes, it is. Thank you very much.
Yep.
There's so many different misspellings of Mosin.
God.
Or Mouser.
A surprising amount of misspellings of Mauser. Like, you would think everyone would know it, but...
Yeah, you'd be amazed. Even Garand. I've seen some weird ones of that one. And it's like that one, I feel like out of, even before Mauser, I feel like even that one. But no, I've seen it with weird spellings on that one.
Garland.
Yep.
M1 Garland or M1 Grand, like Grand.
Oh, yeah, Grand.
G-R-A-N-D.
People will always amaze us whatever else they come up with for different spellings. They really will.
Oh, Danny, there was a question I wanted to ask. Do you mind?
Yo, go ahead.
All right, May. So you don't have to share if you don't want to, obviously, but like, do you have any like crazy fan stories?
So, kind of. I do have a stalker.
Okay, that's a little bit crazy.
Yeah, I don't. We've had people on the show like send emails being like, "Hey, where do you guys live? Hey, can we have your address? Hey, is May married? Hey, is she seeing anybody?" It's getting
a little personal real fast.
Yeah, and then there's like one dude who like set up a GoFundMe to try to get a car so that he'd come up here and see me. I've never talked to the dude before and will never if I ever see him. But yeah, some of the crazy ones have been that kind of crazy.
That's more crazy than I was expecting.
Yeah, it's kind of why we don't really like give out exactly where we live to people, or even use our real names or anything, because obviously May Winchester, I'm not from the Winchester family. Anyone that thought I was, I mean, if I was in the Winchester family, I probably wouldn't be. Well, no, I might be doing this. Who knows?
I didn't even know that was the last name you used.
Like that. Huh?
I didn't even know that was the last name you used. I just assumed you just went by May.
I threw Winchester on there because that was what I named my pig. I had a pig a while back and I called him Winchester. So he passed away a few years ago, but I forget something I was signed in on or was setting up an account on required me to have a last name for the account. And I went, well, shit, I got to pick something other than just May. It wouldn't let me put May twice. So I was like, well, I guess I'll just throw Winchester in there. It was like the first thing I thought of because he was on my mind at that moment. But yeah, that's been some of the crazier ones. Now, we've had some really, really nice fan experiences. I mean, we've gotten emails from people being like, hey, man, I'm laid up. I ended up getting hurt on my job, or I'm in a really bad place in my life, or I was in a really bad place in my life, and your episodes were really long and they helped see me through. It's mostly like they were like, yeah, I was not able to get up and your episodes are like hours long, and it really just kind of helped me to kind of make it through the day. And we've had emails like that where it's like touch people's lives in that kind of way. Like we've had
nice
even husbands be like, yeah, my wife has started to come shooting with me since watching your show, because I'm going to be honest, I'm perfectly average for a woman. Like I don't go out of my way to wear skimpy outfits or anything like that. I just wear normal clothes to the range. So it's interesting. A lot of guys have been like, yeah, my wife came across me watching your show and she saw May shoot and she was like, oh, well, that girl, she looks normal. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe if she can do it and she looks normal, maybe I can do that too. So weirdly, we've had a lot of husbands write in and be like, yeah, thank you for this, because my wife now actually comes to the range and shoots with me and she is enjoying it now. Whereas before she thought it was something that she would never even try.
That's fantastic.
I got my wife to shoot one time and she outshot me. And then she's like, I'm good from now on.
She's set. She's covered. She's good. She's like, I know what I'm capable of now.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, I do have a chicken named after me. Supposedly there's a chicken out there called May.
That's great.
I think if I remember from our episode with Othias, he was telling us that when he goes out to shows and if there's anybody with him that's like a woman, it's immediately assumed it's May.
Oh yeah, that's happened. So Susie's gone with him to a show here or there, or to an event, and it's so funny because the guy will look at him, or someone will look at him, recognize him, and go, and then look to the woman, and then be instantly confused and sad. So she's like, I hate going to shows and stuff with him sometimes and not you there because people just look at me and look sad. Or like you said, if you just be like, look at her confusedly and be like, that's probably her. Curly hair and glasses, that's gotta be it.
That would feel terrible because it would just feel like, oh, now I'm disappointing somebody because I'm not somebody else.
Right. I feel so bad. I want to point out though, we look nothing alike, so I don't even know how the people get us confused for each other. But yeah, I feel so sad for her. Although every once in a while, someone's just been very excited to see her, and she's like, I put on a good impression of you, and they seem to have a good time. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Thank you for doing that.
That's really funny. They pretend that they're you.
It's just easier.
Be like, oh, I love your show, blah, blah. And she's like, thanks. We try really hard.
That's great.
It's cool. I get to be in two places at once. I get to be doing whatever else I'm doing work-wise or relaxing, and then she gets to do the meet and greet for me.
Yeah.
Danny, have you ever been recognized?
Huh?
I was asking Danny if he's ever been recognized.
Oh yeah, have you?
Oh, yeah, it's happening more and more often. But before I had to wear a mask at every show, I was starting to get recognized by somebody at just about every show that I go to.
Now, were you getting recognized in your own state at your shows, or were you getting recognized more out of state?
Both. I've been recognized, in Missouri and then in Kansas. A couple people recognized me at the Wanamaker show and at Tulsa.
Oh wow!
Which is funny. They heard my voice and then they were like, "Oh, it's you."
That's usually what happens with Matthias too. His voice is very booming and tends to kind of loom over the crowd, so people tend to catch it. Yeah. I will say, we did not get recognized in state for the longest time there. It was kind of nice. We were incognito at our own gun shows. Like the guys there already knew us, but it was actually kind of nice. We just got to wander around our own gun shows. Like there, no one spotting us or saying hi or anything. It were just the normal dudes or whatever. But in this past 2 years, we're starting to get recognized in state, and they're weirded out because they're the old cusses, that just like know us from whatever, us hanging around, and they'd be like, why is this kid so excited to meet you? He's acting weird. We were like, well, we do that YouTube thing. And they would be like, what?
That YouTube thing on the interwebs.
About half of them, I think, probably know what YouTube is.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm surprised at, if I'm talking to people at shows that maybe are selling milsurps or something like that, I'll say like, oh yeah, C&Rsenal did a really good episode on this gun. And they're like, who? Mm-hmm. I'm like, C&Rsenal on YouTube. Yep. Yeah. Yep,
that's the appropriate response. A lot of people go who. Unless apparently we go to the collector show over in where was that? Was it Lexington? No, Lexington. I'm trying to think. Where's the shows at?
That's Kentucky.
In Kentucky.
We went to that.
I forgot the city.
Yeah, I forget it too. I'm blanking.
It's in Louisville, isn't it?
Yeah, there we go. Louisville, Kentucky. So we went there, and if you haven't gone, definitely is worth the trip. But we went there and showed up, and it was actually at the collector show. We weren't expecting anything. Like we were there honestly just for the first time ever, looking to just kind of see what was there, not expecting it to be like 2 football fields full of stuff. So it took us a while to get through it all. But like we could not go 10 feet without being stopped by somebody to take a picture, to chat about the show. Like it was incredible. The amount of people that even just knew what we did or even recognized us off the bat. Normally, Matthias and I split up the show. Like he'll go down one side of the show, I'll go down the other. And then we at some point cross in the middle and let each other know what we've seen on the other side to try to, if we've seen anything that needs to be urgently addressed, we can attack it. But no, at this one, we had to go through it together because there was just no point. Like it took us the entire day to just get through just the collector side of it.
Yeah, I think Danny and I, we discussed about going one time, but we just couldn't work out our schedules for it.
Oh, y'all gotta try it. It's definitely worth it. I don't know how it's going to be. I guess this spring will be when they have the first one, if they have it. But it's definitely worth it just for what they have there. And make sure you do both the collectors and the show shows. The show does have more guns, but the collector side of it does have a lot of unique things. And those bins that you want to search through, they've got those bins.
Yeah. Danny is definitely more in the side of the military than I am.
That's fair. But it's definitely worth the experience and just seeing what all is over there. And also just meeting a lot of people. I mean, there's like auction houses there. Morphe's had a big old table set up over there, and we chatted with John, I think is his name, if I'm remembering correctly. I hope I'm not getting his name wrong. Sorry, John, if I am. Who does essentially who knows all the other collectors and stuff like that. And he introduced us to a bunch of people over there. So it's worth it, if anything, to see what's there and also just meet people that are in the right fields.
Yeah. It
cool.
kind of reminds me, I went, so I'm in the automotive industry, and I went to a steel mill in Kentucky once because there was a problem with the steel, and I was going there as part of an investigation to figure out what was going on. And we all drove our own cars out there because we were all going different places afterwards. And this is in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky. It's right on the river between Kentucky and Virginia, or way, way out on the east side of Kentucky. And the middle of nowhere, very hilly, and it's a pretty nice countryside. But so I'm like, oh, look, there's a gun store. And on the way back home, I'll stop here and see what's going on. So I stop and look, and it's this really nice, 2-story gun store, but there's anything Milsurp wise. So I'm like, whatever. And I look down and I was like, oh, they have 7mm Mauser from PPU. I'll just buy a couple boxes of 7mm and head on out. And as I'm standing in line to check out, this guy walks up and goes, hey, what are you buying that 7mm Mauser for? And I go, oh, I have an 1895 Chilean. And he's like, oh, yeah? And he's like, it turns out he's the owner of the store, and he starts pulling out his phone and is like, check this out. And I guess he's one of the largest collectors in the United States of milsurps. I don't even remember his name. I have it on a card somewhere, but he has a house that he owns that just holds his guns. And it's just he showed me pictures on his phone. It was just here's this room, which is all machine guns. And I was like, here's this room, and here's this room. And I was just like, who am I talking to?
He's like, that's my living house, and that's my gun house next to it.
Yeah, he was super cool and super nice, and it was just I think he said that he was one of on this side of the Mississippi, he was one of the top 3 for machine gun owners in the United States. So, and I think on the west side of the Mississippi is going to be more people that are out in Las Vegas or something, one of those companies out there. But as a private owner, he was one of the top 3 in the United States, and it was just oh, cool.
That's impressive to have a whole house dedicated to it.
I wish I could remember his name.
I'm like, Jesus, this seems like a lot. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I wish I could remember his name, but I have his business card, and I remember the gun range or the gun store, and it was a nice gun store. I just didn't have any milsurp stuff, and he just started wandering up to me and was like, "Why is this kid buying 7mm Mauser?"
It's something simple like that, and you make a friend. He sounds like a fun friend to have.
Yeah, he was a nice guy, super cool.
Sometimes those guys.
Sometimes you just have those encounters, and they just. You never expect them. We've had those before too. They're tons of fun, and it's always surprise you.
Yeah, sometimes those guys are just really unassuming. They just look like a quote unquote regular person, and then you start talking to them, and it's oh, you're a multimillionaire, and you own 1,000 guns and 80 machine guns, and okay.
Yeah, I can say 100% of the guys that I know that have that kind of setup, all of them, just your average dude, button-up shirt, wouldn't be able to tell. They're talking about things that they're working on, like their cars or whatever. And it's not like they're hot rods or anything. They're just oh yeah, I got this Ford truck I'm dicking around with or whatever. And just turns out multi-millionaires, and they're just doing that in their spare time.
Yeah, man. And the NFA stuff too, it's like a money game, that's for the big boys, the lawyers and doctors and stuff can get into that.
Mm-hmm.
Or just the people that got into it back when it was cheap, because I guess, 40 years ago, it wasn't such a big deal.
Now, 40 years ago, you could also amass large collections of one strain of something, you know? Nowadays, everything is getting kind of split up.
All right, so I found it for people that are listening. It was Ashland, Kentucky, and the name of the sporting goods store is Borders Sporting Goods, Borders.
So did you just let everyone know that the owner of that place is loaded?
He knows, Danny. If you go look at the website, he knows. But he was also standing in the middle of his store right next to the checkout line, showing me pictures of guns and talking about all his machine guns.
I wonder if I've been here before. This store looks familiar. It's possible. I've been through Kentucky a few times, so it's actually possible I've been to this store.
Well, Ashland's kind of not really on the way anywhere. I mean, kind of it is. It's off 64, but it's a ways off 64. But yeah, it was just fun to talk to somebody that out of nowhere was just like, oh yeah, I love Milsurps. And it was just like, oh, cool.
Neat. Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, I've not done very many videos with Danny, unfortunately and unfortunately. So I don't get recognized anywhere. I've got the really popular Siamese Mauser video that has like 500 views, and then the super popular M95 video that we filmed in my dad's garage in front of his 76 Corvette. And most of the comments on that one are about the Corvette.
Yep, of course. Internet, man. Never makes sense for what triggers and what hits. That other video, the Siamese video, should have way more views than that.
Yeah, we did a video. I did a video with our mutual friend Sam, who's been on here before, and it was his first time shooting. What was it? It was his first time shooting.
A K31,
an M95 30, and a FNFAL, because I had an FNFAL, and the Siamese Mauser. We filmed us both shooting it for the first time, because that was the first time I actually got the rounds to work. And then also at the time I had an M57 and a Nagant revolver, and it was his first time shooting those two, and he hated the Nagant revolver, which was fair. But he loved the FNFAL so much that he bought it from me.
Oh, wow.
And it was it's his first semi-automatic and his only semi-automatic firearm he's ever owned. And it was like, when he shot it, he was like, I'm going to buy this from you. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, no, like, I'm buying this.
It's like, no, I'm in love. I need this, please.
Yeah, and he did. And he loves it.
I get it. When you find something that just works for you, it's like what happened with me, and it's so stupid. VZ 2008. First time I shot one, and we had just bought it too. Like it wasn't anything that I had shot previously. So first time shooting it, just drilled a hole. Everything about it just ergonomically felt great, and it worked well with the cartridge. So I was tickled pink, and now we've got a fixed stock on it through a little red dot sight on it, and the bipod, the detachable bipod on it. Which, if no one's seen those, there's only like one dude who's selling them right now. Get them while you can, because those things are amazing. They detach so quickly and attach so easily too. But yeah, it's one of my favorite guns. Just perfectly fun to shoot. And it just hit all the right marks for me that day. Very happy to have one.
And the magazines on those are surprisingly light. Like, first time I picked one up, I was like, whoa. I was expecting it to be as heavy as like a steel AK mag.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Surprisingly light. You can carry a ton of them.
Let's see. Well, we just sort of mentioned some Milsurps that we don't like, which ties into this question. Is there a Milsurp you hate more than the Reichs revolver?
Probably that Italian Veterli we were talking about before, that 70-87-15, the one that's in 6.5 Picarno.
I'm sorry, the one that's in pieces, you mean?
No, them in general. So we went through, the third one finally got to it. So the first one, I guess there was a headspace issue. The loads were at like 85%, like the normal amount of load for it. We thought that would be enough, but then like it slowly developed like a hairline crack, like right behind the lugs. So that one got DQ'd. And then the second one, it just blew itself apart. Like it managed to vent gas both out down the bottom of the mag well and like through the bolt, like into the area, and actually managed to cause the bolt to rotate some. That was super fun. And then finally on the third one, at like a 50% load, we managed to send rounds downrange successfully. No squibs, no nothing, managed to get it done. But damn, talk about something not wanting to cooperate with you. That gun just wanted to blow itself apart. And it makes sense that it was not going to be a great one to shoot. Totally not safe to do it. People do at your own risk. I don't recommend it. But yeah, finally at 50% load, we managed to get some rounds successfully downrange. And then we stopped at that. We were like, nope, good. We got the shoot. We're done. Never shooting that again. If a gun explodes on you twice, it kind of leaves a mark.
Well, and I cannot tell you how many times I've seen people go, "Oh, look at my new Vetterli," and with that conversion, and then be like, "Hey, you might want to be careful with this." And people are like, "That's not a big deal." And I was like, "No, I mean, I've seen one explode."
Like, yeah, they'll do it.
It was like, "Oh, they're not that bad." I was like, "No, there's video documented evidence of it exploding."
Please just don't chance it.
You know, our friend Zach, he has one. After he saw your video, May, he went and shot his with commercial 6.5.
No, he saw the video. He saw the pictures.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to shoot it.
Yeah, he actually shoots it with commercial loads, too.
Oh, God. I'll miss your friend. Yep. What was his name, Zach? He was a good friend.
Yeah, R.I.P. and peace, Zach.
Not recommended. Don't do it. But yeah, definitely disliked it more than the Reichs revolver. Although, again, still not looking forward to also having to reshoot that again someday. I do not want to have to reshoot the Reichs revolver again. I will.
I was going to say earlier when you were saying that you were having to reshoot it, I was like, oh, that's going to be a fun one.
Oh, yeah. Super looking forward to it. Can't wait. And unfortunately, it might be within the next dozen episodes. So I'm going to look forward to that. It's going to be a good day. Good time at the range. Freaking hate the Reichs revolver.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find one at a decent price.
Luckily, we had a fan of the show reach out to us, and he's got one, the 79, that he's going to lend to us because we've got an 83 here with us right now. So I get to shoot two.
Hey,
nice.
Fun?
Double your pleasure, double your fun, double your Reichs revolvers.
You have a good stick picked out for it.
Yeah, right. Should just dual wield them. It's like, this is double your fun right here. Oh, that's gonna be a fun time at the range. Hopefully we're just gonna take those and I can just deal with it.
I think I'm sorry, I was gonna say I just think the only gun I've ever shot that I just do not like is I had a PSL for a long time and I just did not like shooting it.
Like about it?
It's basically it's based on the RPK. So it's basically just a stretched AK to accept the full 7.62 per 54R. And so, like, you know how AKs just kind of rock you? But so this was like the full rifle caliber. So it was just like, boo-boo, and then you're just like rocking back and forth. And then, oh, here we go. And it was just like, it didn't feel like heavy recoil. It was just like it was shoving your whole body around. And I was like, I just don't like doing this.
Yeah, that's the PSL, right?
What? Sorry?
Is it the Romanian PSL?
It cut off again.
Sorry. Is it the Romanian PSL?
Yeah, it's the Romanian ones. And then I learned that all of the ones in the United States are not Milsurp anyway because the ATF banned them from being imported because they're based on the RPK. They had the third hole for the full auto, even though that PSLs do not have the ability to do full auto. But the receivers all had the hole already drilled because they were just essentially an RPK. And so all the ones in the US are actually new production from like the early 90s where they fill in that hole. Yeah.
That's insane.
So I didn't even know that they're not even Milsurp really. But I sold it for $1,600. So
it's just crazy that they go for that much.
At least you got rid of your most dislike. Mine's still staring at me.
Yeah, I got rid of it and I bought more M95s.
I have the biggest collection of M95s if you can help it.
I do not have the largest one. My friend that I actually have purchased quite a few guns from probably had the largest collection in the United States, if I had to guess. Wouldn't you say, Danny?
Probably. He's the man liquor.
It was the straight pull guy. He had the Lee Navy I bought from him. I bought the two most rare M95 versions I have from him. And he's got tons more. And I was like, hey, I've been thinking about buying a Vernal. And he's like, which one? And he posts a pic of like 6 different kinds. And he's like, which one would you want to buy? And I'm like, what?
Oh boy, there's more.
And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Isn't it just the long rifle and the carbine? And he goes, oh, no. See, there's the 67 long rifle and carbine, and those are different calibers. And then you have the updated version, which was like 73 or 74 or something like that. And it was like, and those are different calibers too from the 67s, but also between the rifle and the carbine, they're different too. So I'm just like, no.
Like, stop there. Please don't tell me anymore.
It's like, I don't want to know anymore. I was at a shop in Missouri, and they had a Vernal, and I almost bought it, but I ended up buying the Vigero instead. And but the Vernal was so funky. I was like, it's so weird that it would be cool to have one.
Guns to shoot. I shot that Austro-Hungarian Vernal back in the day. That was fun.
Yeah, I don't know which one you did, because apparently there's 4 different versions of them.
I don't remember the model at the top of my head.
It's Austro-Hungarian. It's overly complicated for unnecessary reasons. Oh, anyway, Danny, I'm sorry. I went off on another tangent. What were you going to say?
I was just going to ask the next question to May, which is, was there any rifle or pistol that you've shot on the show that you thought was going to be terrible but turned out better than expected?
The Cacarnos. I thought the Cacarno rifle, specifically the cavalry carbine that we brought out, because it looked like terrible shape. So, and previously, this was still early days of the show, because if you look back at it, we have changed ranges since the beginning of the series. And at that previous range, basically, that beginning stages, like the rifles that we got in, well, we had to make them work, so we had to get them to working order. And almost about half of them, I want to say, that we got in needed some sort of repair or something done to it to get it working better. So when we brought the Cacarnos to the range and I saw that cavalry, I was like, oh, great. This looks like it's in terrible condition. I bet it's going to be horrible. It's going to snag. It's just not going to work. Like, something's going to go wrong. And then no, damned if that thing did not drill a hole, damned if that thing did not fire, damned if that thing did not have one single problem the entire time I shot it. And I left thinking, well, shit, Cacarnos, they can just have taken a beating their entire lives and then just still perform and not do poorly. You know, it did all right. Oh, the Vernal was a 67-77, by the way. I couldn't remember.
I couldn't remember what year the secondary conversion was.
Driving me crazy. I was like 67 something, but I couldn't remember. But yeah, the Cacarno easily, like that cavalry one we took out, I just very pleasantly surprised. I think people underestimate Cacarnos sometimes. They're resilient for
I've noticed that with all the ones that have come in here recently, there's a lot of people talking about those right now on social media.
Is the Cacarno market now increasing in price now?
Well, I wouldn't say increasing in price, but it's definitely popular right now. Wouldn't you say, Danny?
Yeah, everybody's kind of talking about them and buying them. I think the ammo is getting a little bit more hard to find just because of the influx. Everybody's buying 6.5 for them, but they're still pretty cheap. Like I'm looking at getting one from Palmetto because they're selling them for $250 for the TS carbine.
Yeah.
Matthias still gets emails at least once a week being like, hey, I've got this Cacarno. What is it? I swear. He did that one quick and dirty guide that he put out there, and he still gets questions about people's bubbled Cacarnos being like, all right, which one is mine? It doesn't quite fit all these. Oh, somebody bubbled yours, buddy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've done that before with him. I've messed with him before where I sent him a picture of a random like part of a gun, and I was like, "Can you figure out what this is?" Because he hates getting those pictures, and it doesn't matter what he says; he's always going to get them. It's just like, but I was like, I just sent him like a random out of focus picture of like a gun like 20 feet away, and it was like, what is this?
He is gonna be so mad. Knowing him, he just saw that and went nope, and just moved to the side. Because we get those questions, but like the way people submit them, they usually we don't have it. If you just email us directly, that we can't do anything about. But if you go through the C&Rsenal website, there's like the little contact us tab, and he's got in there. He's like, yeah, so if you don't show me where you've actually tried to figure this out, like you've sent me a link to where you asked this in a forum and nobody got back to you for like your answer on something, not gonna really take the time to do that myself because there's just too much I got to do. But yeah, we'll get the email a few times a week, if not about Kakarno, about something else. Invariably, it happens. Unfortunately, there's just not enough time in the world for anyone to do that. I can only imagine what Ian's inbox must look like.
Oh yeah. Yeah, poor Ian.
I've hired somebody to just do his email and just be like, all right, if they ask this, just delete it. Or something. Like, he's got to have somebody else managing, because I can't imagine he's doing all that himself. That'd be crazy.
So what you need to do is, you hire a team to check these emails, right? And you start charging for it. So just let them know, okay, we'll do it, but for a flat fee of $19.99, we'll tell you all the specifics. That'd probably make people actually do their own research.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that would do that for one, and then two, somebody would try to capitalize on that, actually do that someday if they had the name built up for themselves. But the amount of time that would go into that, I can't even. That's a whole job in and of itself.
So what's really funny though is I know I was talking to Matthias one night on the Discord server, and I was talking to him about how there's not really any good books in English for M95s or any kind of really Mannlicher stuff in general. And we were discussing one of the books that I have that it's a decent conversion of German language one, and it has a bunch of blueprints and patent drawings. And it was talking. Nice. Well, they're low reproductions. The original German books are like a huge 11 by 17 and like really beautifully detailed pictures, and this is like a shitty like paperback book. And we were discussing a lot of the weird stuff that Mannlicher came up with, and I was describing this gun, and he's like, "Wait a minute, describe that again." And then like he was like, "I've somebody's asked me about this," and it turns out later on he comes back like a couple of weeks later or whatever, and he goes, "Dude, I remember talking to you about this. A guy had messaged me and asked me what this gun is, and I had no idea what it was. And it turns out it was a prototype for one of the guns in this book that was a patent drawing. And it was like, there's only like 15 of them we know of." And it was like, what? And he's like, 100% Mannlicher touched this gun for sure.
That's awesome.
And it was like, what?
That right there, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that would be like one of those ones that would be really cool to find, like this rare prototype thing that never existed really as far as anything beyond that. But yeah, I guarantee, like you said, that's one for every 300. What's this Mosin?
Yeah, right? God, the 1 in a million chance,
Danny, is my 1943 Mosin 9130 rare?
Yeah. Yeah, how much is this worth? Mm-hmm. This hex receiver is worth extra, right?
Yeah.
Or our common joke in our discussions, Danny, is the Arisakas. If it doesn't have a mum, it's only worth $10.
Yep. If it doesn't have a mum, it's worthless. I know that's Mark's big thing, because there's some really rare ones out there, some very common guns that they don't have a mum, but it's like the only one.
Yeah, he got real mad the other day because he posted this really rare Arasaka variant, and people are like, it doesn't have a mom. It's been ground, and it's like, are you freaking kidding me?
It's got to be hard to be an Arasaka collector because of that stuff.
Yeah, seriously.
So
Were there any other questions you guys had?
Yeah, a couple. Do you have a top 5 personal favorite milsurps from the show so far?
I do, but I have to hold off on answering that one because we actually plan on doing a video on that one within the next few months. We've got it all.
Okay.
We're essentially going to sit down and kind of go back and forth between the two of us, our personal favorites, and on top of that, how we would rank what we have shot for the series in terms of, the top dogs of the war that we've shot. We're going to exclude ones we haven't done, but of course, we're going to give our personal top 5 in that one. So that'll be its whole other thing.
Okay.
I mean,
That's good. That'll be something to look forward to.
Oh yeah, I definitely do have my own personal favorites, but I don't want to give it away just yet.
Okay, but I would probably get yelled at if I didn't ask this question. So when's the 1911 episode coming out?
Oh, shut up. No, never. We're going to do all the other 1911s before that one. No, seriously. What happened with that one? That was COVID. We had everything. We essentially, plan A for the 1911 was we get in all of the models we could possibly get our hands on, shoot all of them, and basically talk our way through them, making a multi-episode 1911 episode. Plan A didn't happen. No one really came forward with a lot of options for us for borrowing any different models of the 1911. So we had to scrap that. Plan B was we drive up to Springfield, who does have a lot of them there, and we can at least do, in-depth at the actual Springfield National Museum and talk about the guns there with the curator and show them, have nice pictures of them. And COVID, because this was all scheduled essentially to happen in April. So essentially we had to nix that plan as far as push it down the line. So it's not happening. It's just we have to wait for restrictions to lift in order for us to take the curator's time, because essentially he booked out an entire week to spend with us and let us take photos of whatever else was there, because we weren't just going to do the 1911. It's like going to the range. We're not just going to do one gun. We were going to do several guns while we were up there and also take a ton of photography, because they have a bunch of stuff that they just don't have the ability to put on display. But it is something that is tentatively planned to attempt again the beginning of next year. But again, we have to see how restrictions will allow us, because we still really want to shoot for this plan B of the Springfield trip to make the 1911 episode all that we can possibly make it into, without essentially having to, without being able to shoot everything like we normally would.
Well, it's become a meme at this point, so.
I know. Literally we may get through, because we just did the freaking Swiss G and K 1911. So, I mean, I'm sure, there were jokes in there being like, aha, see what you guys are doing, all the 1911s before the 1911. No, we just want to make a really good 1911 episode, because, I mean, there's a lot of information out there about the 1911. We want to do it right, and we want to do it justice. So we're going to shoot for what we can.
If before you guys, wow, Danny's barking at me. And then
sorry, my dog.
And then I would say, if anything, I'm sure that 1911 video will be the most scrutinized video that you guys do.
Oh yeah, hands down. Anything that's wrong is going to get called out instantly. So we're going to do our best to make it right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good that you're actually not rushing into it, that you're taking your time. That's definitely something that I think will benefit a lot from that.
Right.
And also, I think that'll segue us into the last question, which is how has COVID affected the show so far?
It has done that. So essentially, we work from home, so it didn't impact us in that way, in that we were still able to continue our work at the house. We were still able to go to the range to do our outdoor filming. Now we're getting into the realm of ammo. Since primers are going and ammunition is already hard enough to get as it is, we are looking at essentially that would cripple the show, as if, of course, we didn't have any ammo. So we've already got our reloader set up essentially with a fair bit of primer. So he should be able to reload us for us safely for the next few years. But again, you never know. Something can happen. Knock on wood, it doesn't. But that could potentially impact us depending on how things unravel or how things come back together within the next few years for ammo production. And then anything else for now that's going on, it just restricted us from making trips anywhere that we might have, like we said, to the Springfield Museum or to potentially any local gun stores, or not gun stores, gun shows or things like that, which means we've been having to primarily purchase anything we might need for the show online. And some places aren't set up for that. So that can be restricting as well. But we're making do. We're getting through. We're trucking along. We're going to do our best to still keep up with what we plan on doing for our releases. We're still going to keep trying to shoot everything we can possibly get our hands on, and then some. And just, it might mean potentially in the next few years, if we can't get a hold of everything we want to shoot for World War I, that we just break out of World War I and into, like we already have with the neutrals. Essentially, that's what it did force us to do, was go into the neutral territory sooner than what we expected. We expected to hit neutrals next year, but just because we weren't able to make the trips we needed to, or necessarily find the guns that were no longer available or potentially not up for sale, forced us to do something we weren't planning to start until next year. They're being well received though, so that's good.
Yeah. They're great. They're guns that I didn't necessarily think you guys were going to cover for years, and I wanted to ask that question particularly because if it wasn't maybe for you covering the neutrals, like I wouldn't know at all that the COVID was affecting your show at all, because it's still the same good high quality production. And
oh yeah, we're not going to compromise. We've made the statement that we intend to keep improving, and our supporters have literally come through on that front where they're not letting up their support. So we're not going to compromise on our end either. We're going to give them what they're asking for, and hopefully we'll even get even more help in the future for future shows we plan on doing, not just the direct shows related to C&Rsenal, but some future secret projects that we have in the works too. But I will keep them secret for now.
Oh.
But we have to wait for things to pan out before I can announce them officially. But
yeah.
Fun times.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I personally can't wait for you guys to. I know that there's so many still like in the pre-19 era to cover, but when you guys eventually do branch out into World War II guns, that's something I'm really looking forward to.
Same here. I'm looking forward to not having to work from a fixed list. That sounds nice.
Yeah, especially when that list gets more and more restrictive as it goes on.
It's been squeezing us pretty tight. So we'll do what we can. We'll get through what we can. And if we don't get to everything in time, we'll definitely try to go back and revisit it when we have it in our hands.
Besides like the 1911, that's not that rare, obviously, but maybe some of the variants probably are. But like, is there anything like more common that you haven't been able to get to?
I'm trying to think. Well, not really necessarily more common, but a pure Colt 1895 machine gun, not the Marlin, but it's got a different injection port on the side, if I remember correctly. Been having a hard time finding one of those. And then there's a few other small things here and there. I want to say, I can't remember the entire list off the top of my head. I know Thias has it written down, but unfortunately I'm not familiar with everything else off the top of my head. But a true potato digger would be nice. The one that was actually used in the war. That would be really nice. We've only seen one in person, and that got sold at an auction 2 years ago. We're hoping that we're going to regain contact with them sometime this next year.
Wait, Danny, doesn't Gage have one? Maybe not the right one or whatever, but
yeah, he does. I saw it at his shop,
but it's not the right model, right?
I don't know. I don't know anything about them. He was bringing out so many other machine guns that it was like in the back of the safe, and I didn't really get a good look. I was playing with like the 0815 and stuff.
So it's the Colt one you said, May?
Yeah, yep. It's got like I want to say it's the ejection port that's different on this one. Don't quote me on that. Somebody I'm sure will correct me on this thing, but like it's set up on the left side of it differently, and want to say the ribbing at the front is different too. I'm trying to remember all the differences in it. But like most people mistake one for the other pretty readily, but only the original one was used in the war by record accounts. So we're having a hard time. Like I said, we've only seen one.
Yeah, I'll give you the contact information for Gage, because he had one when I was there like a year ago. So I think it's a different one. But yeah.
Always willing to run down leads.
Gage has a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, he really does.
What's the Luxembourg Mauser he has, right?
Yeah, Luxembourg Mauser, which looks almost identical to the Swedish Mauser.
He had a guy walk in the shop trying to sporterize it.
Yeah, he wanted it. Yeah, a guy brings it in and he wants to sporterize it. And Gage, and Gage looks at it. He knows what it is because Gage is just super knowledgeable. And he just goes, "How about you just pick out any rifle you want and we'll trade." And so he got to keep it. When I went into a shop, and when I went into a shop, it was just like the Lux Mauser was just in like the row of milsurps that he has for sale. Like it wasn't for sale, obviously, but he'd keep some of his own personal guns like in the shop, like just to like, for people to come in and pick it up and talk to him about it.
Nice. He sounds like a cool dude.
Yeah, he is. He's a really cool guy. Yeah, I'll give you his contact number about that. He has a couple like other stuff that you guys have already covered, like the Hotchkiss, and he has a couple choo-choos.
Couple of choo-choos.
Yeah, the Shoshaws.
Okay.
I thought that's what Mark calls them, right?
I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't think I saw that episode that he did. I didn't get to see all of the ambles that they went through on the C&Rsenal thing. I didn't actually review each one of them.
Oh yeah, they're awesome. Mark is he's a national treasure. He's hilarious.
The Shoshaws, on the other hand, not so much. Those things are terrible. They really are.
Yeah. I was really surprised how heavy they were. I just couldn't, when I picked one up, it was just super heavy, super awkward feeling. They weren't made for humans.
Well, damned if anything, they're good for walking fire. They're really good at that, because you just lay them up against your side and it just shoots where your hip is set. It's perfect.
Yeah, I could see that. That'd be probably the best thing for it.
Terrible any other way. Perfectly reasonable with walking fire.
Yeah.
Oh man, did we actually manage to cover all the questions?
Yeah.
We did it. Guys, we did it.
We did it.
I'm proud of us.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. Yeah, I appreciate you so much for coming on the podcast and taking the time out of your schedule and everything to come on.
Well, thank you guys for inviting me. I had a good time. Again, sorry I missed the message to begin with, but I'm glad I was here. This was great. Yeah,
it is. It was really nice to have Othias come on the show. He was like our first bigger YouTube guest to come on the show, and which I thought was really nice of him, and it's really nice of you to come on as well. And I really appreciate both you guys, and I appreciate the show that you guys do. It's more than just a project. It really is a passion for many people, and your guys' episodes are the best source of information for a lot of people who maybe can't afford books. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that maybe, would have gotten, screwed over on some sort of deal on milsurps, or maybe made a pretty big financial, mistake on buying the wrong gun, that your videos, stopped from happening. And, you don't even know that it happened, but I'm sure you guys have, really positively impacted a lot of people, across the world, which is really great.
That's what we're all doing, man. We're all trying to kind of give a little bit of insight out there and to show things that they wouldn't necessarily have. And I hope, if anything, the episodes and what we do drives people to go and actually buy the books from the authors, because don't get me wrong, we try to cover everything we can, but we're having to do a massive summary of what is an extensive amount of research that those authors put into it. So I hope people are getting interested in snagging their books too.
Yeah, definitely. Those authors definitely don't get enough, attention for the work that they do.
Yeah, I agree. Met a few of them in person. Very nice people. They're all sweet guys who were willing to help out. Recently, we had Boss Martins who helped us extensively with our Dutch episodes. Really cool guy. Just happened to send him an email hoping to hear something, and he got back to us, and it was really good help.
It'd be cool to have maybe more authors and stuff like that on here in the future. Maybe we can direct some more attention, to their books and stuff like that, because they really do deserve it.
Well, thank you guys again. I appreciate y'all's help with all this. This was great.
Yeah, thank you so much again for coming on. I appreciate it. Oh, Aaron had to put his toddler to bed, so that's why he's not responding. But thank you everyone for listening and for supporting us, for our patrons that support the podcast on Patreon. This wouldn't be a podcast if it wasn't for your support on there, so I appreciate that. And while you're on Patreon, go ahead on over to C&Rsenal and support Man Othias for the hard work that they put into this hobby and passion of military surplus. And thanks again, May, for coming on. And
well, y'all, thanks for having me. We had a great time.
Yeah, thanks.